So in this video, I'm going to show you how to use a TASMOTA light switch to control a Zigbee light bulb with no automation in between and do cool stuff like this. Single toggle turns it off. Single toggle puts it back on. You can change the color temperature. Press and hold. It will continue to change the color temperature back to warm white. Double tap. It will toggle. And then tap and hold. And then you can also change the brightness from the wall. Pretty cool stuff. I'll show you how to do all of that because it's sometimes difficult to get some TASMOTA light bulbs that you could do the whole device groups thing that we showed previously. So we're going to do it with Zigbee to MQTT, no home automation such as Home Assistant or NodeRED. You can't cheat in the middle. We got to do this with just the two devices, right? Well, we're going to show you not with the Linkind switch because all you fools bought up all the pre-orders that were $5 a piece on Amazon, but you can pretty much do this with whatever type of light switch you want. Whatever you can get your hands on to put TASMOTA on them. I know even Atom sells a bunch of different pre-flashed ones if you really can't find one, but you could do this with a Shelly or whatever. Just gotta have really putting TASMOTA on it if you really want to do this type of setup. Of course, it would be cheating to do like my boy Cough HA recently did some BR30s. We do appreciate that, as well as I think Atom did. These are all pre-flash and put TASMOTA on them as well. I think they come with ESP Home. He does sell a regular type light bulb as well that we have covered, as well as Atom. But there's just sometimes you gotta have that Zigbee thing because of that type of bulb you want. So let's jump on into the TASMOTA console and we'll show you how we set this up, and we'll kind of start from the ground up and maybe we'll work into some more of the advanced stuff. So in our little setup here, I've got my little test desk little button here, and everything's going to be synced. So I know some people ask, well, hey, are you editing the video and pulling out the delay? No, I want to show you the delay if there is one there. So just for this little test one here, we can press the button, and that's the bulb over my shoulder here. It just works better over there and we won't blind the camera. So you can see, push the button and we can toggle it on and off. So it's not that hard. I'm not going to go over the whole Zigbee to MQTT setup thing because you should probably know how to pair devices if you have it set up already. Now, one thing I do set in my bulbs or devices is I hit the little pencil icon, and then I will set and make sure and update the Home Assistant entity ID. I like to use just no spaces. It makes it simple for me, and it makes it more foolproof in doing rules and different things with topics. It's just much easier. A lot of stuff doesn't support spaces. I like to do it that way. You can escape the spaces, but that's a whole nother deal. Typical deal in here, you know, you got your exposes and you can turn the bulb on and off, as you can see going on and off right behind me. And the delay is not too bad, I think, for Zigbee. Pretty decent. So how do we control this with MQTT? And don't let MQTT scare you, because let me show you exactly kind of how you can do this without using the Zigbee to MQTT console and without Home Assistant. So there's a section in here in the documentation, and we'll leave all the links if you're really lazy and can't find this with Google. But it's really simple to send something to Zigbee. We'll go over this part. I know it's JSON and that's scary at times, but without the JSON, you'll notice how it says right here. It says Zigbee to MQTT, friendly name, set state is the topic. Now, topic can be confusing. Think of topic as more like an address or like a channel, and Zigbee to MQTT is going to listen for that for your light bulb. So if we just copy that topic, so there's a ton of different ways you can do this. I'm just going to use MQTT Explorer. If you really wanted to, you can even use Home Assistant to publish, or even another TASMOTA switch, but I wanted to show you it's really simple in the way MQTT works. So I'm just going to jump in here to the publish and paste in that copy and paste from the documentation. Now where it has friendly name, we'll go grab that friendly name that we set to our bulb over here. So that's that Zig Lenkind bulb. And again, you can use whatever bulbs you want as well. You can even use a group. So over the friendly name, we will paste in, because I'm a big copy and paster, the name of there. Now we'll make sure and be in raw mode because we don't want to send XML or JSON to it. And we'll send the off command and we'll publish. Because remember, what it's going to do is going to send the payload or the message of off to this topic or channel that Zigbee to MQTT is listening on. And you hit publish and you should see it go off. Boom, there it goes. And really, if you wanted to, you could change this to toggle, so I wouldn't have to keep changing. You wouldn't have to listen to me talk anymore. And I could just hit the publish button and then hit the publish and it goes on and off. So pretty cool. You can already see the power and where we're going to go with this next. So let's jump into TASMOTA and quickly go over how to do this in a rule. Now, if you didn't watch the previous videos, yeah, shame on you. You should have at least just left them to play and gave me at least the watch minutes, right? But basically this little test switch is, we did the toggle. There's no actual toggle on the actual relay. It's just toggling a pin on the ESP chip that's not hooked to anything. And that allowed us to still put the load of the light bulbs through the light switch. So in case we wanted to actually turn off the light switches to work on anything with the lights, we could just turn it off. Well, how we did that was in the template was we set output high to always hold that relay high or on, basically. So of course, if you did want to come in here and turn it off, you could use and change the template. There's multiple ways to do this. Now, one thing I also came in here and did is I set switch 1 for the button. And I'll explain why, because we're going to go in through some other stuff with that dimming and whatnot. We need it to be set to switch. Switch 1 gives us a little faster response as well, and plus allows us to do some short press and long press stuff too. Now, it doesn't let us really do multi-press, but that's a whole nother deal if you want to do that. So this isn't connected in any way. The light switch is over here, and that's just a lamp plugged in on a totally different circuit. So if we push the button, it does change the toggle, but nothing really happens, right? So since we are set up for actually toggling that fake relay, and this isn't using any device groups or anything like that, what we're going to do a rule. And the rule, there's 3 rule buffers. And a buffer is just a big set of rules, and then you can toggle each buffer on and off. Like if you want to play with something and try something out in rule 3 without impacting rule 1, that's one of the reasons why I like to use the different buffers. Now the first rule we're going to do is just going to be rule 1 on power 1 state. And the way these rules are laid out is you have the rule number and then you're saying on. So it's like the start of the rule. Then you're saying the trigger when something happens. When the power 1, which is relay 1, the state changes. So if it changes from on to off or either or, because we're not going to give it a state to change in. We don't care what state, just as long as the state changes. So now we want to do something. So of course, there's the word do. We want to do a publish. That's going to send out through MQTT. And now you can already see where we're going with this. Of course, I'm a big copy and paster again. I'm going to go grab my publish from that I used a while ago to show you and paste it in. And we're going to send the payload of toggle end on, and that ends the rule. So it begins in the on and goes through there. Pretty simple rule, but they look confusing and terrifying when you first look at it, but once you kind of break it down, it's pretty simple in how they are. So we'll press enter. If you want to see your stuff, you'll see it shows rule 1 here. Now you'll notice the state is off. We'll fix that. and there's your rule that passes on by, and there it is. So we need to do rule 1 space 1. That's going to turn that rule on. So let's give it a shot. We'll push the button. And now we've already just, with that simple one little rule, have done changing the state of the light bulb using a TASMOTA switch. Pretty cool, isn't it? All without doing anything in Home Assistant or NodeRED or anything. And to be honest, like I said before, this is no delay, no camera trickery or nothing. I won't edit this. I can see that I'm just going to be continuing to talk. And yeah, I do a lot, but you can see right now that I'm pushing it and the light turns on and off. So it's probably not as fast as device groups, but maybe that's due to the transition also in that bulb. That can make a difference in the bulbs as well on how quickly they react with Zigbee, because some of them ramp up kind of like how this one is. You can see it kind of ramp up and ramp down, and instead of just bang, come on. So this is pretty much going to solve your issue, and you don't really need to sit through another bit of talking and showing you rule stuff and everything. You can just jump on down through using the markers down below, hit that closing, and smash that like and that subscribe button, and shoot us a comment. Maybe let us know other cool stuff you may want to do. But if you want to hang out, let's jump into doing some cool stuff, and I'll try to explain a whole lot of it, and I may even confuse myself a couple times. But yeah, let's jump into that, doing the dimming with the button. This took me a little bit of time, but it was a good challenge. And I'm going to leave all of this, and probably YouTube won't like me for put all these weird characters in the description. And no, I'm not trying to get you just to go to my blog because I got shitloads of ads on there. No, I don't have any ads on there that I know of or I put on there. I don't think it shows any like some others. Just go check it out in there, and I'll put it all in there where you can kind of copy and paste out and kind of go through and grab this stuff. Now, these are all going to be the setup commands. Basically, you just go and copy and paste them and put them in the console. Just like this. Just put calcres 0. Now, this is all one rule buffer. You'll want to paste all this in. When the system boots up, it does a variable of your friendly name. So I made it where you didn't have to go in here and change all this stuff. You could just change the friendly name right here to what your bulb is named. Now, this particular switch I'm using has a red and blue LED. Now, I wanted to start off the blue LED to be lit, showing we were in brightness mode and not the color temperature mode. Now, this particular bulb I initially set up on is I had the value of the temperature start out at 153. Now, towards the bottom, I do have a place where if it goes over a certain value, you would want to change that. If your bulb doesn't get as warm, you'll want to go and change that. And I'll show you once we get there. So that's kind of just setting up some initial variables. State 2, which is just a single press. It does an event and it sends a ZigTog. I just did ZigTog. And if you look down here, it says, hey, on event ZigTog, do publish, there's the same thing, your Zigbee to MQTT, var5, which is the one I just set here, which is your friendly name. So it just replaces it. Set state toggle. We just went over that stuff. Simple stuff, right? Then we have these 4, which the 4 is when you hold. Now, you say, what are these other variables? Well, the var1 is actually, if you look, var1 is add. So it's going to do add, and then I have to know which, the brightness or the color temperature, which variable. So it puts that number. So I'm using 2 variables to make up which way it adds the 25. I do the steps in 25. Now I may change some of this stuff and add more features, but we'll add that to the blog post as we go. Now you say, oh man, might need a backlog right here. I'm not sure why, But if I put the word backlog in here, it puts backlog, and then it gives me an error. So I just took one out, right, and it works. And maybe later we'll run into a bug where it doesn't work. I don't know. So then it does event zig push, and I don't know which push it is because it's going to do the var2, which is the number whether we're in brightness or color temperature mode. So that gets down to here, where if it actually does a zig push 3, it will send over the brightness or the color temperature. Now the cool thing I had it do was I had it actually, and you may not be able to see it in the camera when I show it, actually I have it blink the LED for the user. It kind of pulses every time it sends that step of different color temperature or brightness. Which one it depends on basically on the mode. Now then, once you hold the button down, you let up, it's going to see the let up message and it's going to flip itself. So then it will flip itself from increment to decrease mode. So then it will decrease when you hold it, and then when you let up, it will increase again. So it kind of goes back and forth, because remember, we only have one button. If this was with a 2-button switch like those Lin kinds, it would be so much easier because you could just use the buttons up and down. But that challenge was there to do all this with one button. And it starts up, sets all the cool stuff, and we see if we can toggle it. We get the toggle, and some of this you may be able to. I'm more of a visual person. You can see in the log some of the stuff it does without, some of those rules can get confusing. Hell, I got confused a couple times. So now if I hold, you can see it's adding brightness, and then now when I let up, you can see it changed to sub. So now when I hold, it's gonna subtract brightness in steps of 25 on that 0 to 255 scale. And then when I let up, you can see it goes back to add. So then we could continue to add brightness to it. So if I put my finger on here, you can see it pulses, so the user can see that the bulb is actually going and doing something as they press and hold things to set the brightness or whatever it may be. You'll see it toggles once, and then hard to see, but there is a red LED under there. I'm trying to put the shadow on it. You can see it. And the same thing will happen. It will pulse as you hold the up and down. But I wanted to switch back to see the rules. And then we should be able to start to add, which should get warmer as we hold it down. And you can see we get up to that 370 and get that warm white. So it's a little advanced rule stuff, but pretty awesome what you can do with TASMOTA and controlling some Zigbee bulbs. Pretty badass stuff. So hopefully you've learned some cool stuff and maybe just apply some knowledge and doing some automation stuff for learning a bunch of rules in TASMOTA and learning really how Zigbee to MQTT works kind of under the covers as well. So in another video, I'm going to do just the opposite, because I know a lot of people can maybe through cough or whatever, or Atham can get their hands, say, on their TASMOTA bulbs, or maybe they just have some. But there's that issue, they rent and they don't want to change the light switches and get the whole landlord pissed off at them. So in another one, we're going to show you using some Zigbee buttons, or even a little Zigbee volume knob. Thank you for Caleb for sending me this, because I don't have an IKEA near me. And we're going to show how to control your TASMOTA light bulbs with Zigbee. So just a flip-flop of what we just showed. So make sure you're subscribed for that one. Maybe you'll even learn some different stuff, that maybe you just want to add another light switch in a place you just didn't have one before, even in the home you do own. So I appreciate all the Patreon subscribers and YouTube and everything else out there. Definitely helps bring new products and projects to the channel all the time.
Let's get done with the video.
What do you got to tell them before we go?
Hit that subscribe button and buy our merch today, right now. Explode!
And you almost poked me in the eye with the antenna.
Everything is on me, gon' back it up.